If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hump Day. Are you ready to go? I know I am. What's going on, all you scallywags, nutmeggers across the fruited plain? You know what time it is. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. Today, an interesting day. News has been kind of weird. Everybody's getting back to school. There's sort of that lull in the news area, but I got stuff to talk about. These are the times, I should say, that I really, really don't like the news. I'm a chaos magnet. When there's chaos, I'm up and ready to go. Yeah, what's going on? Who's doing what? It's crazy out there. But I'm always excited. I'm always excited to be here and be here with you. And raring to go. I've got some interesting news. We'll see what happens about it. Yours truly, ended up in our headline section today. We'll talk about that. I have to talk about the lie today, the big fat lie coming out of the mouths of Governor Lamont, coming out of the mouths of mainstream and legacy news media in Connecticut and across the country. And I find it interesting that people have not combated this lie. Because this immigration thing, as much as people want to make it the focal point, there's really not the thing happening that everyone is saying is happening. They took one incident and made that the conversation. So I'm going to help you with something that we all knew but rarely spoke about. In doing so, I kind of have to go after the governor. Now, why do I kind of stay away from Governor Lamont? And it's not for any good reason. When I say any good reason, I don't have an excuse. I should be raking this man over the coals regularly. Aside from, referring to him as Oakley Dokley, because he is. He's very Oakley Dokley. And his answers are very Oakley Dokley. He's just that kind of guy, but I stay away from him. Can I tell you why? Let me say it this way. I tell everyone I'm a bully. And I am. I'm a bully to people who act like bullies. I'm like My Bodyguard. If you ever saw that movie, Chris Makepeace? Matt Dillon? Yeah. I'm a bully to bullies. I'm a bully to people who flex their weight. Lamont's not that guy. He cannot stand firm and be effective or look strong because it's just not his makeup. That's not his MO. When he's confronted, he always runs. And we know that for certain. I have it documented that the man is a little weaselly and scared. Just is. Sorry, just is. Showing up at events, preventing certain members of the news media from being there by either not inviting them or never telling them that the event's going on. Acting in secrecy. Making demands on the media not to ask probing questions because he can't answer them. And he usually has to get a layup from the news media, like they tell him how to answer with their questions. Can I give you an example? Let me give you an example. Here is Oakley Dokley himself being given a layup. I would love to know who this reporter is. I can't see her. I can only hear her. She's asking Oakley Dokley here about due process when it comes to illegal immigrants. It went a little something like this.
But do you think what's important is that there has to be due process?
It's got to be due process. This is America. You're not, charged and found guilty, and then we'll figure out something later. That's not. We don't get deported, and then we'll get back to you later on what your charge was.
So there has to be due process. That's a reporter. A reporter asking what she thinks is a probing question, and the only thing she's doing is setting up the governor. But there has to be due process, right, Governor? Wink, wink, nod, nod. That's Oakley Dokley for you. Well, of course there should be due process, Oakley Dokley. Of course. Yeah, you just can't go arresting people, Oakley Dokley. So I hate to have to mock the guy and make fun of him, but you know who you elected. And I understand he may very well run for re-election. There's a part of me that doesn't believe that. There's a part of me that just says, get out. It's getting tougher for him to govern. It just is. His party has left him. They've gone astray. He can't play it down the middle. He's got to go extreme left. He has to. He knows it. He's a shell of himself. If he doesn't, he has to. He cannot possibly govern with the new world order that is the Democrat Party. And he's not tough enough to push back on them. He can go after Donald Trump. Everybody's doing it. And he could do it to an adoring crowd, the press, that is. They'd love to have him go after Donald Trump. But right now, in order for him to politically stay alive as governor, he's got to go after the progressive left in Connecticut. And he's got to see the writing on the wall that many of his party want to go the Elliott way. There has to be a fight, a knockdown, drag-out fight. And I ask you, progressives, people on the left, moderates even, do you think Oakley Dokley's got it in him? Do you? I don't think so. And neither do you. Now, he could surprise all of us. In that lanky frame, a spine could emerge. It's quite possible. It's a show I'd pay pay-per-view money to see, but I don't think it's happening. I don't. But Oakley Dokley, let's get back to him and this nonsense he's trying to spew about due process. And everyone else under the sun who's a Democrat or on the left talking about immigration. Let's talk about this out of touch and out of the mainstream idea that illegals picking fruit is the reason why your grocery prices are so high.
Food's getting really expensive, and It's more expensive for food share to be able to get the food, and it's one of the reasons you have what they call food insecurity. That's a government way of saying people are a little hungry, and we're trying to give them all the security they need, and that starts with a good nutrition. And food's getting expensive. It's getting expensive because there are fewer people to pick fresh produce. So
it's getting expensive because we have fewer people to pick fresh produce, Oakley Dokley says. We just don't have enough illegals. Can you imagine if every industry you thought was too expensive could be answered with illegal immigration? Can you imagine if Oakley here was in charge of making all of the prices of everything you want to have cheaper by having illegals be paid pennies on the dollar? I've got an idea for Oakley. Oakley, remember when you wanted everybody in Connecticut to have an electric vehicle? And we here on Reese on the radio told you over and over again that some of the working poor in the state would never be able to afford an electric vehicle. Boy, have I got an idea for you. Because of your wise statements about food prices going through the roof because we don't have enough illegals to pick them, I'm thinking this. General Motors? Ford? Whomever. How about they fire all that union work and bring in some illegals to put the cars together? In fact, just electric vehicles. Just hire them. You could do it pennies on the dollar, and guess what? Those new electric vehicles that you so wanted to mandate in the state would be cheap. I mean, you could do this in every industry. Why don't they ever promote it? I mean, seriously, food prices are through the roof, and they say that we don't have cheap slave labor in order to, we could apply it everywhere. Everywhere. What about medical costs? Come on. It sounds crazy because it is. You know, we can teach illegals to do, minor procedures, right? Why put them through school, huh? What are kids doing in college nowadays anyway? They're learning about 4th century Greek art, getting degrees on that. No one is getting an education that is actually worth anything in the medical field, clearly. I mean, just imagine if guys like him could actually get these prices down by bringing more and more illegals to do those. Come on, don't they have doctors working in Brazil? How many women have you seen, or how many stories, I should say? If you've seen women like this, you need to call a doctor immediately. But how many stories have you seen about women who have been rushed into the emergency room because they went and got those Brazilian derrieres that have been filled with cement? I've seen a lot of those stories. I know you have too. Let's just bring those doctors in. Why not? Let's just bring in cheap labor everywhere. And why isn't housing costs going down? Come on, I've heard it said over and over again, no matter where you look, that some of these construction sites where houses are being built, some 30, 40, 50% of the people who are there building the houses, they're all illegals. That's what we're being told. The New York Times just did an interview with J.D. Vance about the same thing. Hey, if you get rid of all the illegals, imagine all the homes that wouldn't be built. Hasn't anyone asked the question, well, wait a minute. If illegals are what drive down the cost of all of these things, why are homes so damn expensive? Those things should be cheap as hell. That's why I know that old Oakley Dokley here is pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. That's how I know that you guys have not been addressing these arguments the right way. Let's go one step further. Governor Lamont here would have you believe that these people are not getting their due process.
But do you think what's important is that there has to be due process?
It's got to be due process. This is America. You're not, charged and found guilty, and then we'll figure out something later. That's not. We don't get deported, and then we'll get back to you later on what your charge was. This is America. These are very un-American, the way ICE is reacting to these folks.
What is the latest?
I have to ask everybody a question. Where is Kevin Rosero Moreno? The Meriden High School boy that was taken into custody with his dad at an immigration hearing. Anybody know where he is? I know where he is. He's not in Guatemala. He's not in Ecuador. He's not in El Salvador. Hell, he's not even in Nigeria or Uganda. He's sitting in a detention center where? In these United States. Texas, specifically. That's where he is. Most of the people that you see who are being picked up end up in ICE facilities or ICE lockups right here in the United States. How about the Newington 7? We know that at least one of them is sitting in a detention center in Massachusetts. Now, last I checked, I didn't go to college. I am almost certain that Massachusetts is in these United States. I don't think that there's a Massachusetts in Ecuador. No one has been deported, so to speak, unless they have been deported. But the language of guys like Oakley Dokley is these folks are being deported without due process. That is a lie. The reason why they're in detention centers sits in my hand. When we come back, we'll explain the language of the left and how you should respond to this so-called deportation lie. Go nowhere. More news, more views than you can shake a stick at. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080. And some of you people who are interested in the Epstein files scandal, we'll be talking about that later on as well. So make sure you stick around for that. We'll do it in roughly about the 3 o'clock hour. And thank you, Robert, for reminding me. Of course, I have to promo the fact that we will have from Moms for Liberty, Alexandra Bougher will be on the program. We'll talk to her about pretty much her claim to fame as the Bergen County scout leader for the Girl Scouts and how she ended up losing her position there and even her daughter being kicked out of the Girl Scouts and what she's been standing up for ever since then. We'll talk about how she's helping moms and other Moms for Liberty chapters across the country and, of course, here in Connecticut on how to get ahead of some of the stuff, school year just beginning, and some of the woke ideology that's happening there. So we'll talk to her about that and a myriad of other things. We'll see if we can keep her in a little longer. Depends on how it goes. If it goes well, we'll keep her on for longer if she can because she's doing a lot of stuff. She's interviewing everywhere. She's definitely sought after as a woman who's fighting for the rights of girls and parents across the country. So we'll talk to her about that, and I'm very, very lucky to have her on here. I want to thank Robert for making that happen. Later on in the show, we've got great Hollywood news. Well, it's not great Hollywood news. It's bad Hollywood news. I got to get into that as well. And as I said in headlines, yours truly, your humble correspondent, he said with tongue firmly in cheek, made the cut today. We'll talk about that as well. If you're late to the show, which you shouldn't be, I've got to talk about this argument that's being made about people being deported. As I just said it, Don was in the chat room talking about, you're full of it, Reese. People are being sent to Africa right now. My response to that is, you over-caffeinated liberal hack. So what? That doesn't make it the case for all illegals. You know that, as do I. So here is the argument that is not being made. Let's start with expedited removal. This is the fast track process. As of January 21st, 2025, under an expanded policy implemented via executive order by the Federal Registered Notice, ICE and CBP can use expedited removal to deport certain undocumented immigrants without a hearing before an immigration judge, potentially in as little as 1 day. This applies to individuals apprehended anywhere in the U.S., not just near borders. Those who cannot prove continuous U.S. residency for at least 2 years prior to arrest. People who entered between ports of entry or were paroled into the United States with parole status revoked. Exceptions include visa overstays who must provide entry evidence, unaccompanied minors, and those with legal protections. If someone expresses fear or persecution or intends to apply for asylum during the process, they receive a credible fear interview. Passing this removes them from expedited removal and shifts to standard proceedings. Without such claims, deportation can occur rapidly after a brief officer review and limited due process or legal representation opportunities. Standard removal. What is this? What you are seeing everywhere. This includes Senator Lesser and Senator John Larson. This includes Newington. For those who don't qualify for expedited removal, long-term residents with over 2 years in the U.S. or visa overstays, the process is lengthier and involves immigration court. After pickup, individuals are typically detained in ICE facilities while their case is processed. They receive a notice to appear outlining charges, followed by a hearing before an immigration judge to contest deportation or apply for relief, e.g., asylum, cancellation of removal. This can involve multiple hearings, appeals, and time for gathering evidence or securing a lawyer, often taking months. If a final removal order is issued, ICE coordinates deportation, but individuals may be released on bond or under supervision during proceedings. That is what is happening. Is happening. Do we understand that? So we are allowing the language to be co-opted by the likes of the press and Oakley Dokley, John Larson, State Senator Matt Lesser. This is what they're repeating over and over again. Why? Because they don't expect you to do the legwork. To them, you are lazy. To them, you are naive enough to just take their word for it. I trust him. I trust Senator Lesser. I trust John Larson. He's been around forever. He wouldn't lie to me. They're being deported. Where are they? At an ICE facility. No one's gone anywhere. You're still paying for them. You're still paying for them. That's okay. Don't worry. Your tax dollars are still feeding them and housing them. And you should be happy about that. You know? You're doing good. You know? If you were wondering where your good deed was today, right now your tax dollars are at a detention center feeding one of the people who could be out in the hot sun picking your fruits and vegetables. But no, instead, he is on an extended 2-month vacation or so. Fighting for the right to stay. The due process you're so concerned about. Huh? That's what you wanted, right? You wanted due process. See, I already know you guys want to move the goalposts. You don't want due process. You just don't want them detained. And I wish you would just say that. But you can't, because then the cat's out of the bag. Then you're exposed that the mass hysteria that you are screaming and hollering about, John Larson, unmask yourselves, all that nonsense would be exposed. People would be like, oh, so you mean they're at the detention center waiting for a hearing to see if they could stay? Oh, okay, chill. Oh, all right. Well, good, if they can prove it. But see, we all know what's really going on. I can tell you right now, and I can tell Donald right here. Donald, who's already saying that this is spin. Donald, answer this question. Here's what you're concerned about. And come on, be honest. I know you're a liar anyway. And yes, I did. I called you a liar because I know you're lying right now. So do you. So let's prove whether or not you're a liar or whether or not you can be honest. Put it in the chat room. Say it out loud. What you're really afraid of is that they're going to lose in court and they'll have to leave. That's what you're afraid of. You don't want due process. You're afraid of what due process will glean. You're afraid of what the court hearing will fan out. You're concerned that those individuals that you want to blindly support, knowing nothing about them, you've never met them, you've never broken any bread with them, hell, you don't even know their names or where they're from or where they live. That you damn well know that what you're concerned with is when they do have due process, the jig will be up and they'll have to go anyway. But that's okay. What I find incredibly odd from somebody like Donald, you know, a self-admitted black nationalist, is that he doesn't bat an eye when people like Jasmine Crockett say, we ain't picking cotton no more. That's why they're here. He didn't bat one eye when he heard Representative Garcia say, who is going to clean our toilets and clean off our tables at the restaurant. He didn't bat one eye when Congressman Johnson from Georgia said that we need people to clean our hospitals. Just make sure that they're not in Guam because it might capsize. Awfully silent now, aren't we, Donald? We know the truth. Come on. Everybody here knows what's up. You're not upset about deportation. That's not happening. You're upset that when the due process comes, like you're screaming, the due process isn't happening. Well, we know that it's happening. It's evident. They're at detention centers. By the way, if they weren't at the detention centers, we wouldn't have that Congresswoman MacGyver now facing felony charges for attacking an ICE officer. Right? We wouldn't have people staging sit-ins outside of ICE detention centers. In fact, we wouldn't have had Alligator Alcatraz if they were all just being shipped out. What do we need the facilities for? We're just grabbing them and putting them on a plane, aren't we? Huh? We know what the deal is. So, for those of you who love sending me messages about Reese, how do we answer this? There you go. No one's going anywhere without due process. That's what the ICE facilities are for. We'll be back. More news, more views when we return. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
By the way, programming note, in about 2.5 minutes, we have got an emergency broadcasting systems alert that we have to go to. So if you get the dead silence or you get the alert on your end, that's going to be happening very soon. All right, so stand by for that. As I promised, headlines coming up. Yours truly made the cut today. Also, a crazy, stupidest thing I read today that's associated with EBT. This is, I can't believe this, but goodness gracious. This story blew my mind when I saw it. Also coming up at 4 o'clock, 4:05 exactly, we got Moms for Liberty, Alexandra Bougher on the program. We'll talk to her about her journey to become one of the chapter presidents for Moms for Liberty in Bergen County. She's an old neighborhood of mine. Talk to her a little bit about that as well, and what she's doing to help parents as the school year begins with woke ideology that we're seeing in the classrooms. And if she's seen any changes thus far with politics and policies in that area. So look forward to that. Also on the program, Hollywood News, a story that I'm not really happy with, and it involves an actor I really kind of like and has grown on me for a little bit. He's going the way of regular Hollywood. It's kind of disappointing. Anyway, we'll talk about that and much, much more. Oakley Dokley is in the news as well, talking about immigration. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And, of course, we'll have your phone calls at 860-522-WTIC. That's 860-522-9842. I want to make sure I didn't forget something because I'm still waiting on a response from ICE on Kevin Moreno. Kevin Rosero Moreno. And they haven't responded to me yet. And I think it's because I don't have any information on him. Anyway. So we're waiting on ICE to give us a call back to let us know, or at least an email back to let us know what the status of Kevin Moreno is. And all I'm trying to find out are the details of him being detained. Now, if there's a likelihood that, he overstayed his visa, don't know, didn't show up at a hearing where he was supposed to, but he was with his dad. He and his dad. Apparently, the rest of his family is still here. But everyone is incredibly tight-lipped about him or him being detained. Try to talk to the mayor, who was very, somewhat, ticked off at the fact that he was taken by ICE, as are many politicians in the state right now, screaming and hollering about who's being picked up and who's wearing masks and all the barking. But no one seems to be no one seems to have any answers to any questions. What I find even weirder is when you ask people about the follow-up, no one seems to have an answer. That they've even bothered to do that. That one reporter hasn't gone back to say, hey, remember all of that airtime we gave to such and such? This is still a hot issue. Let's go back, revisit it, and see if there are any updates, even if we have to just put it on our website. But nothing. No one says a word. No one even follows up. In fact, did I tell you guys yesterday that one of the individuals I asked at the station said something about, we hadn't received an alert from the lawyer. And I thought that was odd, that you would wait on the story to come to you. Because if I'm doing a story, I'm following up on it. I'm not waiting for the follow-up to come to me. I don't know. I don't know how many times I got people sending me an email and said, hey, Reese, whatever happened to that story, blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, We tried to follow up. We're getting resistance. We didn't get anything. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the legwork. And again, I got no journalism degree here. You know, I learned how to do journalism the same way I learned law, from television. Why do you think I keep saying I have a degree from Law and Order? Huh? Why do you think I keep saying that? I learned how to do this whole thing by watching people on television. Every day. I was like, okay, he did that, you do that. This guy does that, you do that. That's what an investigative journalist does that, you do that. We used to have that around here. Now all of a sudden no one does it anymore. They don't even do their jobs. I think that's what all the discontent is about. Nobody's doing their job. No one knows anything, and they're all sitting around in their own little bubble or cloud. Anyway, let's go to the news. John Silva, he's in the WTIC newsroom. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, we are back, and it's time to get into some headlines. One of these headlines you already heard. In fact, both, I think two of them you actually already heard John Silva give, but I would like to at least add some commentary to them nonetheless. Governor Lamont, can we give him a round of applause? Oakley Dokley makes the news today because Lamont is now online on X bragging about getting minimum wage workers another, wait for it, $23.60. Oh, baby, a week. Do you have time to go to the movies on the weekend? Like after you get your $23 can probably go see a horrible movie in the theaters. Well, Governor Lamont is running around bragging about that today. He got you another 59 cents an hour. Couldn't make it 60. He got you 59 cents, and they are bragging about it. Their press release says it's like almost 60 cents. Almost. We were trying to get there. It's really tough to get people to sign on to that penny. $23.60 for a 40-hour work week. 40-hour work week. That's what it comes up to. And he's bragging about it. He actually posted it today. Call me crazy. He can't be running again. He can't be. Is he serious? But is he serious? Like this is what we're taking a victory lap about? And it doesn't even take place until New Year's Day. We're taking a victory lap about it now? 59 cents? Now? I couldn't believe it. You also heard from John Silva that Florida is announcing an end to vaccine mandates. I wish we had the audio to this, because when they told, when the Surgeon General of Florida actually revealed this in a press conference, the crowd went nuts. I mean, it was insane in that room. You'd think that, the Florida Marlins had won the pennant. That's the way people were applauding it in Florida. And I thought that was good news, and it was kind of heartbreaking at the same time with everything that people had to endure with all of that. What is it? Donald? I don't believe in minimum wage. You didn't know that? You didn't ask? Okay, good. When we come back, we'll talk about minimum wage and why I know that is dumb. And just so you understand, when it comes to minimum wage, I owned a business. Now, if you were smart and you had been listening a long time ago, you'd have known that I've never paid anybody a minimum wage. Okay? My employees made $30 an hour as a private business owner. Plus, they kept their tips. So spare me the red state argument. What about red states? Are you sitting here celebrating about 59 cents? Are you applauding that? For next year? And now for the stupidest thing I've read today.
could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
I cannot believe that I have to report that Reese on the radio has made the stupidest thing I read today. That's right, folks. Yours truly has made the stupidest thing I read today, and I've got to find the article because it's somewhere around here. Yes, here it is. Not even an article, but it's actually just something that I heard. So apparently, Senator Matt Lesser has called yours truly a coward. Yeah. So a listener sent a message to Senator Matt Lesser and says, you know what I'd like to see, Matt, is one of you Democrats go on Reese on the radio on WTIC 1080 AM. He's calling you guys out all the time, asking you if you want to come out and answer questions. But we all know you're a bunch of cowards, and you don't want to go there because that's not the liberal stations that you go to. That's what the listener wrote. Senator Matt Lesser wrote this. Never heard of him. Sorry. Never heard of him. Nor have I ever gotten a request from him or his producer to go on the show. Sounds like he's the coward. Okay, Senator Lesser, let's go. Now, I would have, if I were you, I would have stayed off my radar. But that's okay. In fact, I would have said, hey, never heard of him, but if he'd like to, I'd love to come on the program. You should have just left it at that. Because that would have been, you don't even know anything about me. I've never talked about you. I've definitely never called you a name. In fact, on this show, we avoid it like the plague, calling people the C word. I don't like doing it unless I really see cowardice. But this was an interesting one. Sounds like he's the coward. So we contacted his office. Do you think they responded? In fact, let's check. When did I send a text message to his office? Let me see here. I'm looking. I sent a text message today. My phone call was about, according to this, about noon, 12:30 at best. I called, spoke to his public relations folks, communications people, whatever it is, and said, hey, Senator's calling me a coward because I've never reached out to him. I didn't know I had to, but you know what? Now I am. So, Senator, come on the show. In fact, the town that you represent, Newington, is in the news. We'd love to have a conversation with you about the Newington 7, the illegals that were taken by ICE. We'd love to ask you a series of questions, like the post that you are now putting out on your X account, suggesting that Donald Trump is going to be costing a family of 4 that makes $128,000 a year, their medical costs to go from $900 a month to a whopping $4,400 a month. We've done some fact-checking, Senator, and it turns out you're on your X page lying about it. And we'd like to have a conversation about where you got your numbers from. Now, don't get me wrong. I already know where you got the numbers from. But I also know that the numbers are also fraudulent. So let's, since we're using the word, let's find out who the real cowards are. You seem to be a policy wonk. You don't really seem like you've got an online presence, but for some odd reason, you're joining the brood of people who think that your notoriety will rise if you go after Donald Trump and this administration. Someone asked you to come onto the program. He called y'all cowards. If you got a beef with him, take it up with him. But you called me a coward. Now it's on. So don't leave it to me. Let me lay the ground rules for you. And it's real simple. Come on the show if you like. But if you don't, everybody knows who the coward is. I'll be happy to take your call anytime you want. Reach out to who you need. Your communications director, I think it's Garnett, has my telephone number, my direct line. Reach out whenever you want, whatever you want, as long as you want. We did the thing you asked, so there you have it. We'd love to, and I don't care when it is, this year, next year, I want to have a conversation with you. Everything you post from now on is in my line of sight. Everything you talk about is going to be talked about on this program. Everything that you say is going to be scrutinized to this audience. And we'll see whether or not you've got the, to come on the program. To be honest with you, I don't think you do. I really don't. I think you kind of walked into a hornet's nest without any true protection, and now you're kind of stuck. But that's okay. That's okay. I didn't set the ground rules, you did. And we're here now. So it'll be a pleasure. Like to talk to you about some of these other controversies, too. Especially the one about this smut you want to put inside classrooms. Do you really think you want to come on this program? You think you really want to come on here and go toe-to-toe with me on this show? I would love it. To be honest with you, this would be epic for me. This would be like slapping a cat toy. This stuff is epic, man. This stuff is great, fantastic. The stuff that I would love to talk to you about. You're never coming here. Do you understand that? You're never coming here. Talking all that smack about he's never asked to have me on. You've been asked. Boy. Anyway, I'm sorry. Again, like I said, stupidest thing I've read today. It's just stupid. And again, I'll say it again, especially to those the lovable left that loves this program. I'll tell a childhood story. This is a great story. So I had a stepfather who was a Golden Gloves boxer. And when I was, I want to say in the 5th grade, I used to go to school. Of course, I went to school all the time. Went to school in this Springfield Gardens neighborhood. And I always avoided getting into confrontations with people. I was funny, quirky, a nerd. I loved television. All I wanted to do was be left alone. I had no real friends. I had one friend named Derek who lived in the neighborhood, and he was a quirky kid too. And that was my surroundings were kids who had weird tics, so to speak. Think of any sitcom you've ever seen. I was that kid. And I remember the first time a kid ever picked a fight with me because I seemed like the one. And boy, did he put a beating on me. No punches were thrown. Nothing. This kid threw me around the playground like a rag doll. Just literally grabbed my clothes and just threw me into the fence, threw me onto the ground, scuffed me up badly. Never laid a glove on me, just threw me around. It's the most embarrassing thing happened. It happened in front of my sister, who I might add never ever pitched in to help a brother, but so it goes. And when I got home, my sister, wretched individual she is. She told my stepfather, Golden Gloves boxer, 6'1", weighed a good 230 pounds, me in the 5th grade. He heard about that and was so disappointed in me. He was angry even. And he grabbed the furniture in the house, love seat, couch, coffee table, some other stuff, and he built a small makeshift boxing ring inside the living room. He tossed me a pair of Everlast gloves, red and white, never forget them. Made me put them on, and he proceeded to beat me for an hour in that living room. I don't know how hard he was throwing punches, but I know I felt like I was fighting Mike Tyson because it didn't seem like he was letting up, and he beat me. DCF, if they were worth a damn, would have been called. We had BCW when I was growing up. But I never will forget that beating, nor will I forget urinating on myself as he did it, because I was scared, confused, and didn't understand what was happening to me. That beating sat with me for my entire life. Still does. I can see it vividly. I know exactly what I was wearing. I know exactly what he was wearing. I can still see the room. It's like a nightmare. And I swore for the rest of my life that would never happen to me. Ever. I was never going to get beaten up for not sticking up for myself. Ever. Because that's what that's like. If anybody ever comes for me, ever, I'm not going to sit there and take it anymore. Ever. So if it seems like I'm taking a little bit too far, I would say consider it trauma. You guys on the left, you love that, right? You like that trauma stuff. That's all. I'm just hearkening back when I was a kid. Coward, you say, huh? Come on, buddy. Can't wait till you show up. Let's take Fred in Middletown real quick. What's up, buddy?
Hey. So I just happen to know a little bit about Matt Lesser. I'd say there's a non-zero chance he shows up. Not likely. The Democrats never take live calls. But he might be so desperate that coming and getting beaten up by you might do him some good.
I think it will. I think that he would be a stronger candidate for it because,
yes.
Look, these guys, I get it. I'm understanding the game in Connecticut in ways that I never did before, especially on a political in the political arena. These guys are really like they live in a bubble. They've been protected by this bubble for so long. And a guy like me might come along. There may be some others out there. Some other guys. I mean, I know, you got your Vinnies and some other guys who are down in the, New Haven, area who who are very, very, headstrong and are coming after these guys.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, look, I believed in a particular approach, and I kind of feel like it works. But like I said, I would have never put this guy on my radar. Under any other circumstance, he would have never been on my radar. The fact that he didn't even have to call me a coward. I don't even understand why he did.
Well, he's been at it a minute. He might be getting sloppy.
I think so.
He was the hardest working man in show business, man. He used to put in a lot of time. And when he started out, being Jewish was an asset, around here And he beat Ray Kalinowski, some old Republican. And now Matt is an older, cis, white male property owner.
Yeah, but somebody's got to explain this to me. Why was he allowed to run unopposed?
He ran unopposed last time. I didn't have that. No, but in any event, I don't know about that. I mean, there's no Republican Party, and ask Mark about that.
Yeah, indeed.
But in other words, he's now the establishment. He owns a house. He's a property owner. He's married to a woman. They have a kid. He's married to a birthing person. And the rest is coming for him like they came for Ben Florsheim.
Yeah.
He didn't get run out of town by meanie Trump-style Republicans like Seb Giuliano or what's his name, Polino and Billy Wilson. He got run out by sharp-toothed people to the left of him who wanted to tear his flesh from his white cis-male bones. Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens. I doubt he's coming. I think I agree with you. I don't think he's coming anywhere near this show. Thank you, Fred. I appreciate you.
0 and 1%. I'm giving it 0 and 1%.
We'll see. He might surprise us all. Thank you, buddy. Let's take a break. We'll be back. More news, more views. Mike, go nowhere. We'll get you in a second. When we return, it's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, everybody. Will Murata here. Happy birthday, WTIC News Talk 1080. Can I get an amen out there?
Amen, Pastor Will. What's going on, guys? We're back. It's Reese on the radio, WTIC News Talk 1080. Excuse me. And I'm going through some of the chat room chatter in here. And, of course, some of my liberal friends are in the chat room, and they love chiming in. And I appreciate them. I appreciate you. You have no idea. I love it when you come in here. Let me see. What is some of the comments that's on here? Okay, Bob J., he says, Reese, did Donald Trump lie about Obama's place of birth? That answer is no. And here is concrete evidence of that. Here is Barack Obama's inside one sheet from his first book. Obama writes, because he wrote his biology on this biography. Barack Obama, the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review, was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. No, it was not Donald Trump who lied about Barack Obama. Barack Obama lied about Barack Obama. Another thing that Bob also asked in the chat room, here's another one. And by the way, that's evidence, by the way. I just provided you evidence that it was Barack Obama who lied about Barack Obama. He also writes, Reese, did Donald Trump lie about losing the election to Joe Biden? The answer is no.
You've also found many bags of information. I think they call them burn bags. They're supposed to be burned and they didn't get burned, having to do with how corrupt the 2020 election was. And when will that all come out?
Mr. President, I will be the first to brief you once we have that information collected. But you're right, we are finding documents literally tucked away in the back of safes in random offices in these bags and in other areas, which again speaks to the intent of those who are trying to hide the truth from the American people and trying to cover up the politicization that was led by people like John Brennan and James Clapper and others that have caused really immeasurable harm to the American people.
Holla if you hear me, they say. Holla if you hear me. Who said that? Tupac? Was that Tupac? Anyway, of course, there's a discussion in the chat room about the cost of living and, of course, the minimum wage. Bob J. also says, he's asking this question. And again, I don't know whether or not people are this naive. I don't. I really don't. I'm stunned by some of the questions when it comes to minimum wage. And it either proves one of two things, or one or two things. And that is they've never owned a business, or they do not understand basic economics. So listen to this question. Do employees have the right to request what they think is the value of their labor? Yeah, of course they do. You go to a job, you find out what they're paying. You ask, and if you've never been in a position to do that, because I have, I learned that very early on because I had people who could bother to teach me that said, if you can, ask if there is any opportunity for growth or a different pay rate. Well, I had hoped that the job paid such and such. Any wiggle room on that? And they'll tell you that that's either solid or they'll negotiate. They'll negotiate for hours. They'll negotiate for tasks. They will say, yeah, for that rate, you would have to do this, that, and the third. I've been in that position before. I've negotiated my wage. Now, if no one's ever told you that, Bob J., fire them and never listen to them again. The fact that you're a grown man and I have to tell you that today is insane. In fact, many people, by the way, employment is not slavery. Get that out of your thick head. You are not forced to take a job that pays you minimum wage. You are not forced to take a job that does not respect you and your labor. It's called quitting. Do we really have to have that discussion? Like, is that where we are in this? Where we actually have to tell people you don't have to take the job that doesn't respect what you give or offer to the employment? Really? That you don't know how to ask what the benefit packages are? What does this job come with? Is there insurance? Can I get health care provided for by my employer? Really? You don't know how to ask that? Do you just walk into a job and say, hey, y'all hiring? Yeah, I want a job. Okay. And then you think that you're stuck there? Like, really? Are you asking that ridiculous question? What happened to you? I feel like I'm talking to the most ignorant people in the world. And I know that sometimes in the black community, if you use the word ignorant, you think it's an insult. But no, ignorant means without knowledge. And it doesn't appear that you do. Yes. You don't like the wage, you walk out. You're not tethered to the job just because you got an interview. Let's go to Rick. Hello, Rick. You want me to Reese on the radio. What's up?
Hey, Reese. First of all, I want to say thanks a lot for reading my screenshots on Matt Lesser.
No problem. Wait, hold on. Before we go any further, wait. Yeah. What prompted that conversation? Because I didn't get that part of it.
So I follow him on X, and he constantly bashes Donald Trump. So I asked him, can you tell me where are you getting all of this information where my insurance is going to go up, this much money? And he said, well, read the article, he said to me. And I said to him, the articles that you provide are liberal articles from liberal news stations or papers, I said. Mm-hmm. You go on different sites, OAN, Newsmax, and you won't see this. So I said to him, stop spreading these lies. And I said, if you really want to have a conversation with a guy, I mentioned you because you are a man that speaks the truth no matter what party. So that's when he came back and said to me, I think Reese is the coward. And I'm like, oh, boy, I don't think you want to go there, but I'm glad we're there. And now just follow him for me on X3, and you will see what this man is about.
Well, it's funny because I did, and as soon as I went to his X page. By the way, Rick is the person in question that was doing the back and forth with State Senator Matt Lesser, and I went to go look up his site, and the one that he's getting the most burn about is this suggestion that Donald Trump's Affordable Care Act that he's saying that is going to cause this effective change of 900 right. So he's saying that the policies of the big, beautiful bill will cost taxpayers who make $128,000 a year, a family of four, that their monthly insurance premiums, premiums, would go from $900 a month to $4,400 a month. Now, he makes this claim online emphatically. He says it will. He uses the word will. And then I said, I love it when these guys use the words will and does, right? Especially when they say it with this impunity, right? It's sort of like it's going to happen. So then you start looking at where they're getting the information from. And I'm glad you called because I went and looked up, and it turns out the site and the organization he's citing on their own website, they use a different word. They do not use the word will. The word they use is could.
Yeah, right.
That is an important distinction, right? Because if you're trying to make a case, the objective is to say, it's sort of like saying, hey, Rick, if you go down that alley, you could be mugged. Now, if that's in your head, you won't go down the alley. But if you feel a little fearless, you could go down the alley, come out on the other side. You don't get harmed. And, say, and then you can come on the other side and tell your wife, hey, sweetheart, I came home and I had to go through a shortcut through the alley. I could have got mugged, but there was no one there.
Yeah, that's right. That's how he scares everybody. He doesn't give you the real facts.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And so that's the impetus of all of this is like telling people that it will happen, and that's where he's being disingenuous. And so I said, look, and that's the reason why I'm saying I would love to have him on the show to say, why are you going around telling people that something will happen when the data you're citing uses the word could? So change it. And that's what I want to do. I want him on the air and get him literally on the record to go back and change the words to could and stop lying to your constituents. That's all I want.
Right. And stop bashing Donald Trump. I mean, when does he talk about the good that Donald Trump has done?
I'll go one step further. Right? I don't care that he bashes Trump. Let him do it. But what I'm saying is, just like I said to Rick about Chris Murphy, regardless of what they do, the bottom line is stop being disingenuous. The thing that you're accusing Donald Trump of doing, you're doing in your own post. Telling people that it's going to raise their rates from $900 to $4,400 is a possibility. It is not set in stone. Why? Because we also know that Republicans are working for carve-outs that will not affect families of four. So he doesn't even mention that.
Right. Now, Reese, one more thing. So I just sent him another response on X, and I said, well, Reese has called you out. You called him a coward. I said, let's step up and go on Reese's show, and we'll see what happens. And then if you don't go, I guess we'll see who the coward is.
I guess, like I said, you can't. What do I say every time, Rick? When you let them set the standard, make them live by it. Right?
That's right.
That's right. Thank you. I appreciate you doing it, man. Thank you so much. It was not, by the way, even though the check's in the mail, I did not coerce you.
Oh, you did it. Thank you very much, Reese.
You got it, sir. Like I said, I didn't. I no way did I tell the guy. I didn't tell the guy to write it. He sent it to me and said, hey, he had this exchange with him. So I'm like, oh, okay. Mike, I promise you, I'm getting you in the next break. So stand by real quick. I didn't realize Rick was calling, so I wanted to get to that real quick. Stand by. Some of these things are just great. Donald says, Reese, salary has not kept pace with the cost of living for the working class. Get a better education. The job's on you. That's all. I didn't go to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting to be here. I had to send a fax to a morning show. I started in radio making $125 a week in the year 2000. I quit a $70,000 a year job to get into this business. I made the sacrifices. Please spare me about this whole thing about the cost of living. That's up to you, my friend. Don't put that onus on everybody else. That absolves you of any responsibility or accountability. But then again, that's typical from somebody on the left. You think how much money you make is based on them, not you. After you've sent your kids to college, Donald, did you really rely on the government to make that possible? I doubt it.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
If you really want to know something, for those of you who listen on the radio and listen online on WTIC.com or even ReeseOnTheRadio.com, the thing I have to tell you that's absolutely funny and satisfying is that if you were listening in the last break when the question was being asked about Barack Obama and Donald Trump about whether or not he lived in Kenya, when I provided the proof, silence. When I talked about the 2020 election, provided the proof, silence. They've moved on. I am trying my best, and I hope that you guys don't take this as arrogance. I'm trying my best to help you and assist you in these debates with your friends and your family. That's all. And again, people tell me all the time, Rama, who listens to the show very often, says this all the time. Reese, I'm amazed at your recall. His recall is incredible, too. But I do this for a living for that same reason. Is that I have to have these debates with everybody in my life. Outside of doing radio, you'd be stunned. Now that, there's comments in the chat room talking about, well, if Donald Trump is so popular, why is his approval ratings in the 40s? Barack Obama's was 41, November of 2013, after his reelection. What's your point? November of 2013, Barack Obama sat at 41. It's not a flex. And having a selective, memory about polling data, like how did the Messiah have a 41% approval rating? How did that happen? It was probably racism, huh? Let's go to Mike in Newington. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
What's up?
So listen, on the whole Matt Lester thing, I mean, I can tell you right now, as a Newington resident, he is thoroughly despised here.
I heard.
It's not even funny. Don't let anybody kid you. Nobody likes him, and he goes hand in hand with another guy who's a state rep in the area here, Matt Turco. I'm sure you've heard the name
Yeah, of course.
They like to call him Matt Turdco around Newington. But I'll just tell you right now, he took a lot of Lester took a lot of pride this summer, no pun intended,
right,
in June, in joining in having the pride flag raised in Newington at the town hall.
I remember.
I find that disgusting, just like in Wethersfield there. And you know what? There should only be two flags at the town hall, the state flag and the United States of America flag. And if any other flag is to be raised, I'd say a veteran's flag should be raised there. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, nonetheless, Mike, thank you for holding, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry that the folks of Newington have to endure him, but perhaps, and by the way, I know that there are a lot of Newington folks who listen to the show, and I commend them and I appreciate them. But I will tell them this. Get on that guy. Tell him, hey, you called him a coward because he didn't ask. Now he's asked, so get on the show.
But I agree with Fred from Middletown, too, that he may come on just because of the old saying, there's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah, you know what? You might be right. And trust me, we'll make it very bad.
Have a great day, brother.
You got it, man. We'll take a break. We got news, we got news coming up, of course, as well as traffic and weather. Our first check of both in a second. When we return, don't forget, we have got Alexandra Bougher of Moms for Liberty joining the program. We'll talk to her about what she's doing and pretty much how she became a chapter member of Moms for Liberty. Bob Larson's got your weather, and Mark Christopher, he's in a BPS traffic center. How we doing, sir?
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
We're back, Reese on the radio, and coming up in a little bit. Oh, there she is. Okay, good enough. I was worried about whether or not she got my message. Okay, give us a couple of minutes. We are going to have Alexandra Bougher on the program. She's from Moms of Liberty. She is the chapter head in Bergen County for Moms for Liberty. And we're going to talk to her about parental rights, talking about, things that we've been talking about, it almost feels like 5-6 years now since the introduction of Moms for Liberty. We'll talk about her story. If you've never heard her story before, and how it started with the Girl Scouts of America with her own daughter, and how we're seeing so much of this crazy indoctrination that's going on with children as it relates to gender, sex, transgender, just all of this stuff, and how she's fighting with other mothers and encouraging other mothers to come out of hiding to defend their daughters and their children overall. So we'll get to her in a second, so stand by for that. I'm looking forward to a great conversation with her. She is everywhere, and she is fighting a good fight tirelessly. And I want her to be an inspiration to a lot of people out there because, again, this was somebody who I feel, at least from the way the story has been presented, was thrusted into a fight. Some people don't think that the fight never reaches their doorstep. And you wake up one morning and you find out that the fight is there, and you're wondering, where the hell where did this come from? I talk about that all the time. There's so many people in the dark about it, and then they wake up one morning and find out that it's not so much about the fight. It's also about when they find out what their kids aren't allowed to do anymore, or what they were never asked their permission for. And that's why groups like Moms for Liberty, even though there are so many people in the news media who malign them, are fighting even more, because some people have a tendency to be discouraged by it. And the fight is real. The fight is real. It's not made up. And you got to give props to the folks that are in it. So we'll do that in just a little bit with Alexandra Bougher of Moms for Liberty. With that, let's get another check of our weather and traffic with Bob Larson and Mark Christophers in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we are back, and we are absolutely privileged, as Reese on the radio, to have this woman on the program today because I have been a big fan of this organization because I used to live in Virginia when I started my moving company back in the early days around COVID 2019. Loudoun County was where my business was, and that's kind of where Moms for Liberty was formed. But out of the Bergen County, New Jersey area, Alexandra Bougher is with us today. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, Reese. How are you?
I am fantastic. And, you know, your story is, as I said earlier, is one of those stories where you kind of get pushed into a situation, like, you know, is pushed into a fight like without your consent, so to speak, because you have to defend your own children or at least your own community. So this all starts after you've had 7 stellar and wonderful years in the Girl Scouts, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, ideologies were being pushed into Girl Scouts. Tell everybody a little bit about that story.
For sure. Okay, well, yes, I've been a Girl Scout. Well, I mean, I'm not anymore because I got fired. But I was a Girl Scout leader for 7 years. I've been the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty for almost 5. Mm-hmm. I started it, same thing, you know, COVID and eye-opening. And so I've been used to fighting for the kids for about 5 years. But this was really the first time it had escalated, let's say, where, you know, people were really getting nasty. We were getting, you know, death threats and hate mail, and I got swatted. So this is when it really started to escalate. So I would hear this from other Moms for Liberty chapters, like all these awful things that were happening to them. But I hadn't really experienced too much of that by me. I have an extremely strong chapter.
Right.
We have thousands of members. People are very active. You know, they know that if they want something done, they call me up. I'd speak at their Board of Ed meeting, and be, you know, I'm not intimidated of anybody or anything, and we're going to go there and we're going to get it done.
Right.
But this was a little different. So, fast forward to, I believe it was March of this past year. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you know what, let me back it up a little bit. If you don't know how Girl Scouts works,
okay,
you have National Girl Scouts, and then you have, like, for instance, in Jersey, they then answer, Northern New Jersey Girl Scouts answer to National, and then you have a service unit leader in your town, and they answer to them, and then you have your own troop, right?
Okay.
So Girl Scouts, you have your own troop. I've had my own troop with 2 co-leaders, wonderful co-leaders, a kindergarten teacher, and actually a police officer. So we've had a really awesome troop and about 30 girls. And my girls are awesome. They hike, they fish, they make blankets for the seniors in our town. In fact, the seniors in our town, they would go play games with them throughout the year. They would go sing Christmas or Hanukkah songs.
Wow.
They would bake them things. Yeah, like if you could picture a Girl Scout troop, it was this.
No, listen, can I tell you a little bit of inside baseball here, Alexandra?
Yes.
So you were the chapter leader for Girl Scouts in Bergen County. I used to live in Fort Lee.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that you know, having to, you know, with my kids who went to PS4, you know, being in the area. So Girl Scouts, and again, is the fabric of our life. The young one was in Boy Scouts when he was, you know, at PS4. So yeah, we probably interacted in some sort of weird way over, you know, at least the troops have in some way. So I understand Bergen County, very neighborhoody, suburban, and very involved in the community.
Extremely involved. The parents, we're a lucky community where a lot of the parents do work from home, or maybe only one parent works, or you know, part-time, and there's a parent that's always involved. Mm-hmm. They're volunteering, you know, they're coaching, they're in their kids' school. Like it's definitely a very family-oriented county. And so, it's just a wonderful, wonderful, it was a wonderful organization. It used to stand for God, Country, Community, and that's why I started it. For two reasons. One, I wanted it to be exciting and fun for the girls.
Right.
I'm nothing against Tea Party troops, but my girls are not Tea Party girls.
Okay.
They are active, right? So I wanted to make sure that we were going to make it fun. And I also wanted to make sure that who was going to be around my children specifically, all the children, but definitely mine, they're safe. They're safe adults. I wanted to make sure, they get their background checked. You have to be certified. You have to take a course to say, hey, don't have these conversations with kids. But, anybody can, for the most part, pass those things. I want to know who you are as a person, what you're going to be saying to my children. And so I said, well, what better way than to be the troop leader myself?
There you go.
Right? There you go. That's it. So over the few years, we would meet after school. We would be outside. We'd meet at the school. But you have these town-wide events that the service unit manager, right, for the whole town would put on.
Mm-hmm.
And she started having them, and they were lovely events. Line dancing, and there was a tea party, but just like also baking for the seniors. Like, they had some really nice events, but they were doing it in a church that all of a sudden had the pride flag up. Then the church hosted an event where a 13-year-old boy who identified as a girl, so a transgender minor, was going to offer ice cream and pizza and fun and talk about your feelings and your gender at this church.
Wow.
And we were like, what? Hold on a second.
Yeesh.
We call the town, right? And we call the town, it says like all ages on it. We call the town and we say, what is going on here? Who's the adult that's running this event? And they said, well, it's through the, Gender Sexual Alliance through the high school, but there's no adults. Oh, so
wait a minute. The 13-year-old was there unsupervised, no sort of like person there to sort of chaperone this kind of exchange with the girls, like other than you parents that were supposed to bring your girls there?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. And what was so crazy is I said, well, this is something that parents should be talking to their kids about if they're confused, or a counselor should be talking, or both, ideally, right? And they said, well, children usually want to talk to their own age, their peers. And I'm like, well, I can respect that. Of course they do. However, this is an adult conversation, and one needs to be there, right? Luckily, the uproar, from what I understood, nobody showed up, so that was good.
Really?
But it kind of showed the turn of this church and the turn of the Girl Scouts, and there was more of this pushing for this pride and LGB plus. Right? So, I said to my troop, I'm just not comfortable bringing my troop to these town events anymore. If this is what the church is going to be showing, we're just not going to, if you as a parent want to sign your daughter up themselves, that's you go, that's your right.
Yeah, but you wouldn't supervise a Girl Scout troop to attend these as a troop leader.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we hadn't been there for quite some time. And then back in March, I got very angry phone calls from parents that, like, for instance, one mother, her husband said he went to drop off the daughter. He noticed that there was this really bad flag above the door. And he actually ended up taking the daughter home and said, pull her out. What organization is this? This is unacceptable. And I kept getting more and more messages. So they sent me the picture of the flag because I hadn't, been there for quite some time.
Right.
And it was the progressive pride flag.
Oh.
Yes. And if people don't know what that is, it has,
Oh, no, we know. Everybody here is that we're on. We're definitely we're up to snuff on this one.
You know what that is. There's all kinds of things in this flag.
Yeah.
And they're all inappropriate for minors.
That's right.
And also, I'd like to point out, completely unnecessary.
Right.
Like, you would think the inappropriate part would be more important, but, like, this is what I don't understand about people. Why is it necessary? Why do you feel so, like, moved to have this flag in front of minors? You know what I mean? Like, that's what you really
But
have
who's
to
Alexandra? By the way, if you're just joining us, we're on the phone with Alexandra Bougher of Moms of Liberty, New Jersey chapter. What are you, a chapter leader? Is that your role?
I'm a chapter chair.
Chapter
yes.
chair
Mm-hmm.
in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Correct.
Let me talk to you a little bit about this interesting part. So this new flag, this progressive flag, which is incredibly inappropriate. If anybody hasn't seen it, go online. You will know exactly what we're talking about, but most of you do. So this flag was put on the chapter office by the Girl Scouts, I presume. This wasn't an outside.
No.
Okay.
It was put on
by the church. Okay.
Where the service unit manager of our town Girl Scouts had all of the meetings. So if you wanted to join a meeting, you had to go to this location.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, I had my own troop. I threw my own meetings. We had them somewhere else because we weren't going to have anything to do with that. But if you wanted to do townwide, it had to be there, and you had to walk under this flag to get into the building.
Wow, it's just like just so in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so in your face, and it's so inappropriate and so unnecessary. And it just shows you their priorities, that it was more important for this church to be all affirming to these adults that clearly have mental health issues than to protect the safety and the innocence of these children. And let me just remind you, my troop right now, well, you know, the one that I just had,
sure.
They were going to 6th grade. But we have girls as young as kindergarten walking in. So you have 5-year-olds. 5 years old.
Yeah.
They're just grooming them. They're shoving it down their throats every chance they get. So, of course, I posted about it and called them out. And I actually called out the mayor of the town.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what are you going to do about this? Because I realized that the church is a private place. However, these are our children, our community's children. And when you see something, you say something.
Right.
So just because this church is allowed to do it doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that we should allow it to happen. But, of course, this is what happens. I would say, you know, if I had to guess a percentage in my small town, I would probably say 80% is like-minded.
Okay.
But they won't say a word.
They're scared to death. They're scared to death.
They're scared to death. They're scared to death. And then you have a couple of people that are very loud and yell and make a big deal and say, you're a bigot and you're hateful and you're homophobic. You're like all these awful words because you don't want your children groomed. And they will never address that fact. Like
Alexandra,
that not even talking.
let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of a documentary called Scouts Honor? The Secret Files of the Boy.
Yes, I've seen it. Yes.
Okay. For those of you who might remember it, it was a Netflix documentary about the Boy Scouts, and in essence, you know, it pretty much explains itself when the subtitle is "The Secret Files of the Boy Scouts of America," which again talked about sexual abuse in the Boy Scouts. Now, this again is a scandal that people have been talking about for the last 30 years, if not longer, since I was a child. With all of that going on, the fact that you had to deal with these people pushing back on you when you were trying to protect girls in your chapter from this, the fact that you got pushed back, you know what? In fact, we're going to have to go to a break in a second. If you stick around, can you hang out for a little bit?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Because what I want to ask you is has there ever been a argument made to these folks that were so for one being the church, two, these being young girls? No one made a case that what was going on in the Boy Scouts and what was going on in other classrooms, that this was detrimental to young children, and what that pushback was like when you tried to make that case. I want to talk about a bunch of that as well. I know you're on television a lot, but I also want to ask you, do you, other than on television, do you go around to other states and talk to parents who do not have Moms of Liberty in their states? Do you do stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I go around to any county that needs help, to any state that needs help. And I know that you guys have 3 active counties, Litchfield, Hartford, and Fairfield, but you're still missing Middlesex, New Haven, New London, Wyndham, and Toland. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, Tolland. I had the same problem here, too.
Okay.
No. Don't feel bad. It's a Jersey thing. So you know what? Stand by. We're going to come back with Alexandra Bougher. We're going to talk to her some more about what she's doing to get the word out on some of this behavior that's happening for parents and in schools all around the country. And, of course, we'll get some information on how she can get chapters started here in Connecticut. Let's get to some weather and traffic. Bob Larson has got your weather, and Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right. We've got Alexandra Bougher on the phone. She's with Moms for Liberty. We're talking to her about how she ended up, of course, in Moms for Liberty and her story as it relates to the Girl Scouts, which then led her to this venture to where fighting for parents and mothers and all across the country, helping them start up Moms for Liberty all across the fruited plain. We'll get to her in a second. Of course, we'll get to weather and traffic in a second. So I got to keep her on hold just because if I get into an interview, then I got to break for traffic and weather. It's going to be a whole mess. But we'll get to that. Also, I want to say that, Alexandra, I know you're listening. I just tagged you in a post for an X account called Truth Teller. If you don't know the story, you'll find out about it. It is about a woman by the name of Elvira Saeed, and it's the story about how her daughter took her own life because she was influenced by the transgender movement. Her daughter was a student at Rider University in New Jersey, took her life at that school, if you are not aware of it. So I tagged you in it so you can follow her story. It was also a part of a Project Veritas exclusive investigation, which probably means you probably have heard about it. I'm also looking on here and seeing every place that Alexandra is promoting. I know she's in New Jersey because that's where Moms of Liberty pretty much started because of the events that took place in Loudoun County. Many of you know that story about the father who was arrested because he was trying to fight for his daughter who had been sexually assaulted in a bathroom by a young man who was calling himself a girl. Which is where all of this led. We'll talk to her about that, how her situation with the Girl Scouts led her to Moms for Liberty and that whole transformation and some of the stuff that she's trying to get moms to come out and talk about. This is an important conversation now that school has started, and people think that the news cycle on this subject has died. And as much as people tend to forget about whatever the hot button issue was last year or the year before, they take advantage of that and then secretly keep maneuvering, doing the same stuff to children. As we like to say here, you've got to keep your foot on the pedal, if not on the necks of these individuals who are doing that. You got guys here like, Bob Duff, and of course now, who's now in my sights, Senator Matt Lesser. We've got to make sure that these guys don't continue this deplorable, to use their word, behavior when it comes to kids in schools. So we'll continue to talk to Alexandra about that and what she's doing and some of the ways that people can start their own chapter. I think they can. I think there's a way that they can contact them and see if we can get her into town. Come hang out. Maybe she can talk to some moms who are fed up and don't know exactly what to do. And I'll actually ask her a controversial question because to be honest with you, I got to tell you folks, you know who I'd really like to see involved with Moms for Liberty? I'd like to see some of the moms in the black and brown communities as well. Because as you know, and I've said it here over and over again, that those parents do not know what's happening inside their schools. They are not aware of it. Primarily because they don't have the time to pay attention to that stuff. Some of them are, they watch news for weather and traffic, as we do here on the 8s with Bob Larson and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. How we doing, bud?
The NAACP calls him, whoa, I don't think I'm allowed to read this. It's Reese on the radio. Let's just say some people are not fans. On News Talk 1080, WTIC.
Yeah, I don't care. They can hate me all they want. As the old saying goes, they hate me because they ain't me. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. And again, we thank our guest, Alexandra Bougher, for being on the program. She is with Moms for Liberty in Bergen County. Alexandra, you in having this conversation with you, I am really impressed at the fact that you did not stand down. You did not take it lying down, even though all of these people were coming after you, calling you everything in the book that's supposed to make people sort of wilter. You refused. Talk to me a little bit about that. What's your background that made you fight instead of flight?
For sure. And let me tell you, it is so weird to hear you on the radio and not be able to answer you. I'm like writing notes, like, oh, let's talk about this later.
Yeah.
So, okay, a little bit about me. So I am a mom of 3. I have a 24-year-old. I have a 12-year-old. I have a 10-year-old.
Wow.
I absolutely adore my children. I was a single mom for a while. I know what it's like to not be able to rely on somebody and have to get everything done and stand up for my child, and just be very involved. A little rewind would be that, I didn't get along with my parents, and I went to boarding school from 14 to 18. I went to the notorious Alon in Maine, and that school was finally shut down. I believe it was in the early 2000s for just every abuse that you could think of.
Yeah.
Physical, emotional, sexual. They were basically stealing, $50,000 a year from the state or parents or both, and definitely not spending that on the school. Wow. And then while, all this brainwashing and abuse was happening. And so I didn't have anybody to stand up for me. I didn't have anybody to, when you go to the school, you don't go home for Christmas. You don't go home for summers. You're there the whole time.
Wow.
So if I'm there from 94 to 98, I'm there 4 years. And, I remember thinking in the beginning at some point, someone's going to come and get me. Someone's going to realize that this school is really bad and what they're doing to us is really bad. And then you realize, okay, nobody's coming to save us.
That's right.
Nobody's coming to save me. And I better figure out how to protect myself, until I can get out of this place. And so when I had my own kids, I was hyper aware of anybody who's around them, not trusting people right off the bat. And that's something that I think a lot of you parents feel bad because they're like, how did I not know that this was happening in schools, right? How did I not know that they were telling my kids this or treating them this way? It's because we were raised to think that school was a safe space, that teachers are good, that they only have their best interests at heart.
Instinctively,
right,
we think that.
Instinctively, right. And a lot of them do. They really do. I have so many teachers that are members that just want to turn schools back to the reason why they got in.
Right.
And they're fed up with everything, right? So, I didn't notice it, honestly, too much with my I was lucky to work part-time and really be involved with my kids and, sent them to the best preschool. And then, it became time for public school. And again, I had that way of thinking, even though I experienced this in boarding school, I thought, well, public school has to be okay, right? Yeah. The state watches what they do. There's all these people that are on top of them and supervising. And so I instinctively thought oh, this should be good. And with my first daughter, I didn't notice anything too huge. It wasn't until I want to say she was in 11th grade. So yeah, so it was, I would say about 2011.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And there were some comments just kind of off the wall comments that they would make about her, how she dressed in school. Right. And all these things. So I was like, why is how she's dressed, which, by the way, I look at my daughter when she leaves and she's very appropriate. I always teach the kids, always dress with respect for yourself and be appropriate. I'm like, I wouldn't let her out the door. And why are you showing her that what she's wearing is more important than her education? Get her back in class right now. And so, a little bit started to show through.
And this was coming from faculty, Alexandra?
Yes, the vice principal in the high school. Yep. It was just disgusting. In fact, I'm going to say I was very proud of the kids because that year they actually told the kids that they would pick on the girls that had curves, and if you were like skinny as a rail, you wouldn't get picked on. So if you had leggings on and were curvy, you had to wear. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's crazy. You had to wear a long shirt. Yes. You had to wear a long shirt. But if you were like skinny, you could have like a crop top on with your like. It was insane. So I will say these kids were awesome. The next day, because they were getting sent home, these girls, all the kids in the high school showed up, the boys too, in crop tops and black skinny leggings.
Wow.
And they were like, what are you going to do, throw us all out?
Wow.
Like, it was really good. Yeah, so they stuck together. But it wasn't really until COVID that I really noticed the big stuff. So I started my Moms for Liberty chapter in March or April, I can't remember which month, of 2021.
Okay.
Because I needed help. So when COVID happened and they were masking, we didn't go along with that nonsense. We're like, we don't believe this. This is BS. We're not going along with this. When schools went back in and they masked the kids, I homeschooled. I said, you're not masking these beautiful faces. Absolutely not. But then they kind of were like, well, we'd like to go in and see our friends. So in New Jersey, we have Governor Murphy, and he did this executive order.
Yep.
And I looked through the executive order, and I found 2 loopholes for my kids. My son was born deaf, and then he hears now, but he had speech and hearing issues.
Uh-huh.
And so that he shouldn't have to wear a mask. They a lot of times read lips.
Right.
That's like, right. And then my daughter had an IEP. So I wrote this whole letter, and I sent it to the principal. And I'll tell you what, we have a great elementary school. My principal is phenomenal. And he was like, Alex, this is great, but the superintendent's saying no. And that's what pissed me off because I said, hold on a second. These are my kids. Right? And then I got pissed off at myself because I realized I didn't know how the Board of Ed worked. I didn't know all the politics that took place in school. I didn't know my own parental rights. And that really, I felt sort of like not in control, right? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
These are my kids, absolutely not.
And if I may interject, because by the way, I'm loving every part of the story. This is the least I've ever talked during an interview. But you have such. Look, it's very, very compelling. That's why I'm kind of stuck. But it's so funny because earlier in the show I had talked about being bullied, by my stepdad as a kid, which again forged me sort of going after bullies. That's kind of the framework of this show. But now listening to you about how you stuck up for your kids, like you didn't realize what your parental rights were. This is taking you right back to boarding school. You didn't know. Nobody was coming for you. No one showed up, and your kids needed somebody to show up for them. You weren't going to abandon them like you were abandoned. You had to show up. You were forced into doing this because of old trauma.
Correct. It's definitely there. Somebody had shared with me once a quote, and it said something like, the biggest power move is becoming the parent that would have, oh God, how did it go? Save you as a child.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. And it totally resonates.
Yeah.
I mean, I was bullied too when I was a kid. And, I teach my kids, always be kind, treat everybody the same way. Like, we're all human. Even if you don't have to be best friends with someone, but you should always show everybody respect, right? Always be kind to them. You don't know what kind of day they're having. You don't know what happened to them today. Like, just be kind with them. And unfortunately, we're really seeing a lot of bullying. I think it's getting worse, with the social media and stuff.
Yeah, that's the primary place where it's happening. And I will admit, there is social media has become sort of a problem for a lot of kids growing up. Sort of living by the standard of cool in social media has really affected kids in a very, detrimental way. And I'm with you on that one. I got to ask you this because I've only got a little bit of time, and I could talk to you all day. I love. By the way, thank you so much for doing this.
Fun. Today was fun.
Thank you. So do you or do other members of Moms for Liberty, because I'm being asked in the chat room and other places, do you guys tour around the country talking to parents to help them start their own chapters of Moms for Liberty? Or how does one start one with the office, or did they go online? How do they contact you folks to start their own chapter to become sort of the change agents that you have?
For sure. Okay, well, they're going to do exactly what I did. So you're going to go to momsforliberty.org. Make sure it's .org. I believe they have some fake ones out there.
Right.
So momsforliberty.org. And you're going to hit, there's a button that says chapter. And when you hit it, it'll say find my chapter or start a chapter.
Oh.
So if you hit find, it'll show you, again, in Connecticut, you have Litchfield, Hartford, and Fairfield listed. If you are a surrounding county, pick the one that's closest to you, and there'll either be a cell phone, email, or both. And just call them or email them and say, hey, listen, I'm in this county, or I am in your county, and I want to join, or I need help, or I'd like to start one, something like that. That's the best way to do it. Reach out to me too. I do travel. Typically, I would say we do stay within our counties or our state, but some of us are, kind of go everywhere.
Right.
And I've spoken pretty much, I feel like, everywhere. So I'm more than willing to come anywhere. In fact, I used to actually live, when I was a single mom, I lived in Sandy Hook for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you know the area.
I do know the area. I'm very familiar. I used to work in Westchester, commuting. So, I'm very used to the area. Absolutely beautiful area. I'm more than willing, if anybody wants me to come out and speak to a group of parents, if they want to start a chapter, I'll come and teach you how to do it. I will help you in any way that you can. Something that I wanted to point out in the meantime well is that has school started by you already?
Yeah, already. Yep.
Okay. Us too, yesterday. So you don't have to put your children in anything that they feel uncomfortable in. You don't have to send them to school if you don't want to. You don't have to, if you're not comfortable vaccinating, reach out, please. We'll help you with an exemption. If you don't feel comfortable with them learning sex terms in 3rd grade, or even worse, in 5th grade, I don't know what kind of listeners are on here, so I'll watch my language.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Be careful. Okay. Just be careful. It's a family show.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just leave it there.
Right.
But in 5th grade, it's so inappropriate. There are opt-out forms.
Okay.
There are, and I can help you with it. If you go to momsforliberty.org, you'll find the opt-out forms on there. However, I do know state by state there are some different, policies and laws. A great organization is ctfamily.org.
Okay.
And they have the state-specific opt-out forms and information.
ctfamily.org?
Yeah, CT, like Connecticut, ctfamily.org.
Okay.
And they have, when I tell you, they are so informative, and they have all the forms that you need as well. So our forms are great, but they are more of a blanket national opt-out form.
Sure.
And again, some states like Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, California, where they're really like to
real pushing it, pushing it.
Government overreach. There may be extra laws. So that's a really great one for you guys.
Well, Alexandra Bougher, I want to say thank you so much. You are always invited back. You have our telephone number. I've got your email. I will reach out to you and make sure that you and I keep in touch. Where are you? You do a hit on Newsmax. Are you there regularly, or do you have a regular spot there?
Yeah, so I'm a guest host, I guess you could say, on Wise Guys on Newsmax. It's Saturday at 9 p.m.
Okay.
And then I am a guest, commentary host as well for both Newsmax and Fox.
Okay.
A lot of times they have, 11 p.m. Fox night with Trace Gallagher.
Okay, that's right. I know you do Trace Gallagher a lot. Yes.
Yeah, he's awesome. Honestly, they are all awesome. They are the nicest people to work with. And when we need something to get out there, we give them a call, and they're awesome. Like, where do you need us? What time? Or, come into the studio. We'll give you the time. And so they're really wonderful.
I got to ask you a favor. Well, I'll ask it off, but I got to tell you. First of all, there are 2 guys that I love, and that is William Longinus and Trace Gallagher. I'm a big fan of his. So I need you to kind of slip me in, like, where I can sort of holler at him, because I love his reporting. He is absolutely top-notch. But we'll talk about that later.
We will do that. Oh, and I did hear your question from earlier.
Yes.
And we do have members from all races, all backgrounds, all diversities. They like to pretend that we don't, but we do. So
I know you do.
welcome everybody.
I know you do. That's why I want to do it in Hartford with black and brown communities, because trust me when I tell you, a lot of them don't even know that you folks are around or what's happening in school.
Come.
You got it. Thank you.
Come. You tell me when.
You got it. Alexandra
Right.
Bowers, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, Alexandra. We got to go to weather and traffic. Let's get to it with Bob Larson and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey. It's Hollywood News with your correspondent, Reese on the radio. All the glitz, all the glamour. It's Hollywood News. I don't know why I do that every time, but I love doing it every time. This one is a little indifferent. I'm a little indifferent about this. I don't even know how to respond to this story because all I ever talk about are sequels and sequels and sequels and how bad they are. But one sequel came out a couple of years ago after the pandemic, or just after the pandemic. You guys might remember it. And this movie coming out, even Steven Spielberg told the actor who stars in this film that he saved cinema. And that actor was none other than Tom Cruise. What movie was he talking about that saved America or saved the movie industry? Top Gun Maverick. And those of you who saw it, you enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was great. So imagine my surprise when I heard that they're going to go down that well again. After waiting 30 years to come up with Top Gun Maverick, they had all the time in the world, never did it for 30 years, does it. It's a bang-up success. It looks like they're going to do Top Gun 3. Paramount Pictures has officially teamed up. Sorry, that was wrong. I apologize. That's yesterday's news. Yes. So according to reports, Tom Cruise and Miles Teller, who I like as an actor. I really do like Miles Teller. They're coming back to do another Top Gun. It's called Top Gun 3, tentatively. But Miles Teller, and there's word that Jennifer Connelly may come back. Oh, he's had a crush on her. May be coming back for the third installment. I don't know why. It isn't necessary. Tom Cruise just finished the last Mission Impossible, which I have to say, garbaggio. It was really, really bad. Did you see that, Roland, by any chance, the last Mission Impossible?
I'm going to watch it because I have no choice.
Are you going to watch it at home?
Yeah, I might watch it at home.
Okay, at least you don't have to go out to the theaters. Yes, it was straight garbaggio, as we say in Italy. So, yes, Top Gun 3. I'm assuming you saw the Top Gun Maverick, right? Did you enjoy that? I know you saw that one.
Yeah.
You saw that one. So, yeah. So, would you see a Top Gun 3?
Absolutely.
Really?
The first Top Gun made me love
aviation.
R&B. It was not R&B. Rock ballads, love ballads.
Oh, really? It must have been Love. Is that the song that you like? Is that that's what that's from, right? Was it that one?
No, it wasn't. It must have been Love.
What was the name of it?
It was the other song.
There was another song. I thought it was Must Have Been Love. Maybe I was wrong. I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, I do remember there's a
Mark Christopher probably knows.
Yeah, Mark Christopher would know. What's it? Mark Christopher was in a BPS traffic center.
Yeah, there you go.
Take My Breath Away.
Take My Breath Away.
By Berlin. Was it Berlin?
That's right, Berlin.
By Berlin. There you go.
Yep.
That made me, from the moment I was a kid and I saw this movie and that song came on, and I started loving rock ballads.
Yeah, you probably like Heart after this, too.
Yeah.
What about Love?
Yeah. All right, well, I'll admit.
These Dreams?
These Dreams. Yeah, another great song. But would you see a Top Gun 3, Mark Christopher, in a BPS Traffic Center?
Why not? Absolutely.
Did you see Maverick?
Yes.
You did go see Maverick.
Yes, I did. Yep.
Hey, we got one, ladies.
I saw a movie.
We got
one.
A movie. Thank you, Mark. Finally.
You're very welcome.
Oh, hold still. This is only going to hurt a little. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Hey, we are back. The truth always hurts, folks. We got to talk about this, but I'm going to get these two calls out of the way real quick. Okay? Sorry, that sounds so dismissive. Forgive me, guys. I want to get to these calls real quick, and then I want to talk about this Epstein thing that, weirdly enough, a lot of people are backing away from. And I'll explain that in a quick second. Let's first get to the phone. Steve's in Waterbury. How are you, Stevie V?
I'm doing good. Hey, coffee's on me if I win Powerball.
No doubt. At least I'll get a coffee.
Yeah, I'll get Roseanne a dozen bagels a month for a year, too. But, I used to know John Fusco. He wrote Young Guns in a bunch of movies. And whatnot. Last time I seen him was at a wedding, and his movie Crossroads had come out. It was before Young Guns, but he was asked by the studio to write a movie similar to Top Gun because it was so hot. But,
really?
That being said, I think it was a studio. Anyway, it's so many years ago. I want to talk about Matt Lesser and illegal immigrants real quick.
Yeah.
You can't say that Matt Lesser does not know the host of a 50,000-watt flamethrower being in politics. He's either being dishonest or he got his head in the sand. I mean, this is crazy.
I think he's just following, again, most of these guys are like short order cooks. You know what I mean? They repeat the same nonsense that they're supposed to, make it this way, and say the same line over and over again. Nothing is original that comes out of their mouth. You can find it from 100 other politicians who agree with them politically. I don't think that this guy's got any fire in his belly, which is why, I was stunned that he would even so much as, make that response that he did.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a short order cook, but something.
Stevie, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
No kidding. Hang on. Can you hear me still?
Yes, sir. I can. Real quick.
Okay. So with the illegal immigrants, there'll be more housing, more food. We're not going to have to subsidize them, so we have to get a tax. That's the way I see it anyways.
Yeah, but I'm not. You know what? Unfortunately for him, I think he started a fire he can't put out, but we'll see what to do. Thank you, boss man. Let's go to Dave in Brantford. Hello, sir.
Yeah, how you doing, Reese? A little quick bookkeeping. I want to get to attendance in the school for the third topic. I never really got a straight story on why the switch from Diquat to Aquathol. I never really was a good story. I don't disapprove of the change, but nobody explained who made the choice.
Yeah, exactly. We look to see whether or not there was any local government involvement in that. But from what we learned, that was directly from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, and I think it's a better choice. There's no chlorine or halogens in the Aquathol.
Gotcha.
Androsol is what it is. Formulated for water application. And it's basically, maybe I overstated, it's basically souped up hydrogen peroxide. And so it doesn't leave it, there's 5 oxygen molecules in a somewhat, not too complicated organic molecule, but it dissipates. That's a good thing. The other thing, did you read the Fred McKinney editorial in the Saturday New Haven Register?
I did not.
He had a lament about reparations, and it was, Mr. President, send me to Africa or send me money.
No!
And, he takes it very personally. He uses expressions like the theft of unpaid wages owed to me. And,
wait. I need his name again. Hold on. What's his name?
Fred McKinney.
Fred
on McKinney.
I gotcha.
Page A11 on Saturday's New Haven Register.
Okay.
And to expand it a little bit, the house organs that write the editorials, Susan Campbell, who is a lecturer at UNH, and this Fred McKinney apparently is a lecturer at Quinnipiac University. Apparently, all the propagandists.
Fred McKinney. Wait, you want to laugh? Sorry, let me go backwards. Here's an opinion piece by Fred McKinney. This one will make everybody laugh. Fred McKinney writes, "Here's why Bidenomics worked."
I guess that one was last year, huh? Yeah, he's a little bit off the charts. I don't mind that he gets his opinion out, but there's never any, countervailing balance.
I got
And
you.
the last point is, 30 years ago when my kids were in elementary school, it was front page news in the Hartford Courant and the Register comparing the first day attendance of the big city schools and the suburban schools.
Yes.
And all the suburban schools would rack up like a 98.4% attendance figure on the first day. And the cities would run about 75 to 78% attendance. And they'd have excuses from the parents. Nothing really happens on the first day anyway.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you're fastidious about attendance, you know it's like putting shoes on your kid when the starting gun goes off in a race.
That's right.
You got to do better than that. As Woody Allen said, 90% of life is just showing up.
That's
the
right.
City kids voluntarily screw their future by just ignoring the opportunity given to them. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Always a pleasure, Dave. Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir. Now, I got to get to this thing. And I thank you, both gentlemen, for staying on hold as long as they did. So let's get to this, okay? NBC News, which is still MSNBC, at least in this particular clip, asked the Epstein victims outright about Donald Trump's involvement. It went like this.
We are not asking for pity.
Wrong. My bad. Here it is.
I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the... I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
No, they asked the victims. Who was the guy who said, why isn't anyone talking to the victims? Why isn't anyone having a conversation with the victims? Now they are. Now they have the opportunity to ask. And what did they say? No. And then something else happened that I thought was weird. Because you all, and you know who you are, have been asking for the Epstein list to be revealed. And what did yours truly say? Why don't we ask the victims? They can release them. They were the ones who were abused. No one's even asked them. Who is on the list? Right? It's appropriate. You don't need Epstein to provide it for you. We don't need anybody going back and forth and saying, well, he put them on the list, but is it truly ask the people? They were all there in Washington today. One of them spoke, and they'd said something a little peculiar.
We are not asking for pity. We are here demanding accountability, and I'm demanding justice.
I agree with her. 100%. They should get justice.
Congress must choose. Will you continue to protect predators, or will you finally protect survivors?
It is not up to Congress. Congress is not the person. That is a dog whistle. That is a, I don't know, that is a misdirection. Congress is not holding on to the information about Jeffrey Epstein. Those women standing right there are the ones who were victimized. They are alive. They can all speak up for themselves. And guess what? It is so important to note this. Washington is crawling with lawyers, people who can defend those women. If indeed one of the people who they wish to name were to ever sue them, every one of those lawyers can go pro bono and destroy the lives of those people who did that. But no one has. Weird. Okay. Let's listen.
And also, I would like to announce here today, us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's get the list on the record. You don't need Congress. You don't need President Trump. Nobody's keeping you. No one's got a gag order on you. There's no NDA. No courts have suggested you have to be quiet. They're making a list. Okay? What else?
We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know.
Okay.
Who were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors.
Okay.
No one else is involved.
What?
Stay tuned for more details.
Okay, so they're compiling a list just for themselves? I'm again, I don't know what. Again, I'm not one of these people who say that I don't believe them. I'm not in that ilk. I'm just listening to their words. Don't put it on me. Don't put it on me. I'm just listening to these people talk. They say what they say. Here's one of the attorneys at said event.
Thank you all for being here. I'll go first and then I'll let them. They're much more important than me, but I don't understand why it's a hostile act. I can tell you that I talked to President Trump back in 2009, and several times after that, he didn't think that it was a hoax then. In fact, he helped me. He got on the phone. He told me things that were helping our investigation. Now, our investigation wasn't looking into him, but he was helping us then. He didn't treat this as a hoax. So at this point in time, I would hope that he would revert back to what he was saying to get elected, which is, I want transparency. This about face that occurred, none of us understand it. In fact, I don't understand how this is an issue that's even up for debate. How do you not stand behind these women after you've heard their stories and know that hundreds of them were abused, and it was only because files are being kept in secrecy? The world should know who he is, who protected him, and the other.
Okay, but again, not understanding it. They're openly admitting that Donald Trump was assisting them in 2009. A point I made on this show that was poo-pooed and dismissed, by the way. They're on NBC saying Donald Trump didn't do anything. So again, narrative busted, over. But then something else happened that, again, doesn't seem to make sense because there are reporters now going, what?
Sure, how we're going to release that, or even if we're going to, the Department of Justice needs to release the list.
Right,
yes.
For folks at home, they might be confused. Survivors know the names. You've seen these powerful people. Why can't you say the names?
Did you hear her? People, all these women are standing up here. Why can't you say the names? You don't need Congress. You don't need Trump. You don't need anybody.
Why do we have to say the names when the government knows the names? And we're also scared to do so. Look what's happened to so many of the survivors that have revealed names.
Yeah, I find it offensive.
I think it's also worth saying that having represented, between our firm and Boyce Schiller, hundreds of victims, and we've talked to them about the various people that they were farmed out to. So we've created somewhat of a list. Most of these individuals, the victims, are very scared to say these names because they could get sued, they're going to get attacked, and nobody protected them the first time. And that was against one person.
Now, because we have to take a break, I'm going to play the other half of this for you. Still, the press is sitting out there screaming, going, but wait a minute. The place is crawling with attorneys. The guy who's standing there talking is an attorney. No one is stepping up to protect them legally. They're worried about being sued. Maybe I'm bugging. I don't know. You tell me. I'm trying to figure this out. Let's get another check of traffic and weather. Bob Larson, Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark. You know what I forgot?
Savory, flavory, bagel, deli, and bakery. Between rounds, between rounds, between rounds.
I forgot to say congratulations to Priscilla D. in New Britain. She is our winner of the Between Rounds dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe, located in South Windsor, Vernon, and Manchester. If you would like an opportunity to win, you've got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. You got to fill out the form. Make sure you leave your birth date and your telephone number. You must live in the state of Connecticut. You must not have won within the last 6 months, and you cannot be Roseanne on the radio in order to win. So she gets on my case all the time about whether I should. Every time we go there, she goes to get a bagel, and she's always asking for something like off the beaten path. It's like everything's got to have jalapenos with this woman. She loves the jalapenos. I don't understand how anybody does the jalapenos. I can't. It's like what's the purpose? I can't taste the thing because it takes it away. Like, what am I tasting? I'm still not getting it. I'm too simple. I'm vanilla. I'm just vanilla. I've come to terms with it. I just don't. It's a food thing, and I'll never understand. Boy, this Frank McKinley guy, Dave, thank you so much for telling me about him. I know you probably have before, and he was like out of sight, out of mind, but I am so glad you told me about this article. We've got to get him on the program. If we have to, without a doubt. He was so right. Fred McKinley's opinion, Mr. President, please send me to Africa with what you owe me. I feel like I should save it. Yes, that's right. It's Wednesday. I thought it was Tuesday. I totally forgot. I hadn't even been looking. And there it was, placed in my lap by Dave. You know what we got to make this, right? You know. Negro nonsense. Negro nonsense. Negro nonsense. Usually I'll surprise you, but not this time. This is it. I'm going to work all night tonight getting Fred McKinney on the show. I'm going to try my damnedest to get him on the show. To talk to him about this article. It's the best. I want to know where in Africa he wants to go. If he's got a particular spot planned out. People used to say they want to go to Johannesburg. No, it's a good place now. I'd love to know where he wants to go. Maybe it's in the article. Let's check it out during the break. While you get home with Weather and Traffic by Bob Larson and Mark Christopher, we'll check out the article. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is. You know who it is. You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
I feel like I should have been playing that Roots music. And in the background, we're going, I found you, Fred McKinney. I found you. We will get him on the phone later on, see if we can get him. If we can't get him tonight, we'll work on getting him tomorrow on the program. I think he would be a perfect guest. By the way, if you were wondering what countries Fred McKinney wanted to go to, he's actually provided a list in his article. He says, while I would prefer Tanzania, Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, or Rwanda, Uganda will do. So he's got some locations. And he also wants to add $500,000 to be paid to him as well for him to go to one of those countries. So we'll see if we can get him on the phone. Hopefully he'll want to come on. We'll talk about his article here. It is quite interesting, the stuff that he wrote here. Not that I really doubt that he will. I expect him to. But I'll reach out and see if we can come on and have a little back and forth, talk about the President of the United States going after African Americans like Letitia James through no fault of their own, which should be interesting in and of itself. Let's go to Fulton. How are you, sir?
What's up, buddy? I don't know if you got the video I just sent you. It's a little bit off topic here, but I just sent you a video on that 212 number. There's an active shooter right now in UMass Lowell. My friend's daughter is a freshman.
I did hear. And, I'm watching it closely.
So I sent you that video on that 212 number. It's the actual 911. The girl, my friend's daughter, is the actual call to 911.
Wow.
You can watch the video of the guy walking with the gun. I sent it to you, so you'll see it there. But yeah, I guess the guy was in a gunfight with the police there. They watched that. There's a cop down, and that's all I know for now. But I don't know if you wanted to break that news or whatever. But yeah, that video is legit. And
all right, I'm literally going to look at it now, and of course it's near the end of the show, so I'm probably not going to have a time to
No, I didn't think so, but I just wanted to let your viewers know that there's something going on up in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I saw that they were talking about an active shooter, but the details were sort of slim to none. But I will check on that, and thank you for that. I appreciate the heads up.
Well, I appreciate you, buddy. Let everybody know what's going on. That's all.
You got it, sir. I always appreciate you got it. I always appreciate you guys for always giving me a heads up on these stories as they happen. When we're live, it is difficult because I'll be sitting here with the news media up, excuse me, and some of these stories will either be, they'll pop up on my screen or I've got to go search for them myself. And so I don't always get lucky. I just saw here, let me see, emergency postal weapons incident at Riverview Suites, emergency on campus. Lowell PD is looking for a 5'5" Asian male wearing gray and white sweatshirt and black shorts, carrying a long weapon, seen in the rear of Riverview Suites. If seen, contact UMass Lowell. And that is the report that has been out so far, and that was released by the school police. So that is the current report that's on there. Again, I'm still looking in other places to see if there's anything else that might be detailed in this story, but there has been no breaking news anywhere that I can see so far. I cannot believe I need to sneeze, but there I am. Trying. Darn it. I couldn't stop it. I hate that. I hate when I can't stop a sneeze. It's annoying. And I've been doing it all day, and I kept it for 4 hours under wraps and wait until it gets to the end where I can't hold it. There's a video of the guy going around on Facebook. Yes, Zach, I did. Let me do this. Let me see if I can actually. Fulton said he just sent it to me in a text. I will go to that right now and see if there's actually. Nope, it didn't show up here. Let me see if I can refresh. I'll refresh, see if I can get anything else on it. Let's go to Mark in West Hartford. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. Since you started the show talking about Matt Lesser,
yeah,
I think we should end up with him. And this is just one of the many things, examples, and subjects, if he ever does come out, is to ask him why he didn't assist me or do it on his own. You remember the twins that reported to the media, to our friend Matt Caron? Anya and Isaiah Garrett were twins at Cromwell High School and claimed they were spit on and there was hate speech. It was a hate crime, basically.
Yeah, sure.
And I went out of my way. I put in a citizen complaint through an email to the chief. His name is Sifadaskalopoulos or something. And
Right.
he refused to accept my citizen complaint. I reached out to the NAACP, who you've highlighted, that have disappeared. But more importantly, Matt Lesser. I asked him to assist me in getting the Cromwell Police Department to investigate the hate crime inside that high school, and he totally blew me off. The guy he's nonsense, and I'm glad he did what he did, because then maybe there'll be other stories like me. I know the people of Cromwell probably reached out to him. Again, I'm glad you brought up Newington. That's his district.
It
he
is.
hasn't said anything since the arrests.
Yeah.
And especially since the felons came. Now that we know the felonies are attached to those
Which,
who were arrested.
which again,
Where are you?
it's so interesting that it wasn't like these guys weren't out and about. Bob Larson, a day or two after his outburst in Newington, he's on the campaign trail with none other than Chris Murphy, who, again, an avid criticizer of the Trump administration. And there are no reports in that sort of little, walkthrough at the county, what was it, like some farmer's market? As they were walking.
Market.
Yeah.
I have zero moles in West Hartford. Not I should say that. I got a few. It's 5 minutes from my house. It would have been a 2-for-1 because I could have approached John Larson about the Newington arrest and asked him about, now that we know the felony. But more importantly, just last week, they increased police presence in the schools because of the Minneapolis shooting.
Right.
I would have been able to ask Chris Murphy what he thought about the increased police presence. What's he going to say?
Yeah, you know what was interesting? I'll tell you something. For the people who say that I don't criticize Donald Trump, I was so upset. I don't know if you watched the press conference the other day. This is the one where, he was being asked by Peter Doocy whether or not he was dead. I think it was yesterday. He was asked in there talking about arming schools. with police officers or veterans. And he whiffed on it. I was so disappointed in Trump in that, because what an opportunity to have a national discussion about having, because he said something about building walls outside of the school, like construction of some sort. And then he backed off from it because once you get them in, then, of course, they can keep people from getting in once they get behind those walls. But he was asked a direct question about police at schools, which, again, or having some sort of deterrent in the form of veterans or someone who can handle a gun to keep those maniacs out of the schools. And he whiffed on it. And I was so ticked off that he didn't, no one else, because there was only one person who asked, and no one expanded on that conversation days after these two children are shot and killed. And it's like, so disappointed.
Missed opportunity. You wish he,
yeah, it was.
Wish he had an earbud, and I wish that you had access to it.
So
you
do
could
I.
whisper in his ear.
I hope.
While
Look,
he's sitting
I
there.
really do. I not that I expected to, because the news cycle, it runs rampant. I doubt that it's ever going to come up again. But if it does, I hope somebody reminds him or brings it up again about armed schools.
Yes, I do too. There's so many layers to that too. Like, I would like to ask Chris Murphy, like, if he's, and I've mentioned this before, but really nobody ever talks about it, is it seems like they have a problem with SROs in elementary and high school.
Yeah.
But then when our kids go on to state university and colleges, like UConn Police Department, that's a massive organization.
Yeah.
They're in Hartford, they're in Stores, they're in the other satellite places.
And let's not go into New Haven. The New Haven Police Department covers Yale.
Yeah. So do they have a problem with UConn police being on campus protecting? Now look, we might have a college shooting happening right now as I'm talking to you. So do you have somebody needs to ask Chris Murphy, well, why is that? Why wouldn't you want to protect youngsters? But then when they're adults in college, now a police force is okay for them. The hypocrisy is just unbelievable. And I got to leave you with this, only because last night, I think, CNN, I love watching them. Because it is fun. They had a cath lab director on to talk about the makeup on Donald Trump's wrist.
Are you serious?
And they're like, it was comical because here he is, a doctor. You'd think they'd have a dermatologist.
Right.
But it was a cath lab, a heart cardiac specialist. And he goes like this. He goes, now look at, so from a president who wants transparency, I guess you're not too transparent when you're applying makeup to your wrist. And I'm going, who's watching this? It's a cardiologist who's talking about the makeup on his.
But you got to, now you have to understand, Mark, the reason why they have a cardiologist, right, is because CNN thinks that their audience is deep, right? So you have a cardiologist, right, to at least suggest we brought in a cardiologist to look at the markings on his hand, which then makes you go, well, is the hand related to the heart in some way? Like, they really are the dumbest news organization on the planet.
And the people who watch it are just that stupid.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks again, brother.
You got it, man, as always.
Hey, Matt Lesser, we're waiting for you to call in.
That's never happening. He bit off more than he could chew. I don't expect that. Guards, Giancarlo, yes, I do know that, but as I don't know if you heard the interview with Stephen Orozco, that a lot of the New Haven Police Department are also patrolling. Yeah, I mean, there's so much Yale in New Haven. I mean, how can they not? They have their own PD as well as, New Haven cops that are there. That's why one of the, big problems that Stephen Orozco has while he's running for mayor of New Haven is the fact that Yale is eating up all the resources in New Haven and paying for none of it, while the rest of the city lives in and sits in squalor. So, yeah, it's amazing just to witness this stuff. So, Matt, I hope I'm going to send another message to your communications people to say, hey, what's up? We don't have a spot. I mean, we have a spot, I should say. We have an open spot tomorrow, unless, of course, we get this McKinney guy. And I will admit, if I have to choose between Matt Lesser and Frank McKinney over here, I've got to go with McKinney. I'm sorry, we'll just have to schedule another time. This McKinney thing, It's Thursday. I love having a little bit of fun. This guy's, it's another cat toy moment. I can't wait. I hope he comes on. Do you think he will? Oh, cross your fingers. I'll let you know online. So, hey, by the way, if you're not following me online, you got to do it. You got to go to reeseontheradio.com, REESE ontheradio.com. You can follow me on Facebook, as well as X or Twitter, if you're still calling it that. I want to thank all of you. Gosh, thank you so much for reposting my video yesterday evening about John Larson and his office being upset that they were recorded when they were asked questions about Newington. How irate were they when they found out that they were being recorded? Nobody played any audio then. We didn't even embarrass you. Okay? We didn't embarrass you. We could have. We could have embarrassed you, but we didn't play the audio. The only reason why you were recorded was so that I could hear you embarrass yourselves. And I heard you embarrass yourselves. Okay? So don't be mad. Don't scream and holler. Are you recording us now? Yes. Everyone who calls your office from now on will be recording you. And if you get indignant, if you disrespect your constituents, the people that you serve, they will have it on the record. Perhaps knowing that you're being recorded will influence you to show them some damn respect. Perhaps. Now you'll know. You'll be on guard. Who's recording me? It's like calling up a company. And when you hear the recording, thank you for calling. This phone call may be recorded for quality assurance. That's the mantra you should be working. You should be working that. Huh? So now, when we call you, this phone call will be recorded for quality assurance. The quality we deserve. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You, have a good night, pleasant tomorrow, and we'll see you back here at 2 p.m. Let's get John Larson with weather and Mark Christopher. He's in the BPS traffic.
Bob Larson.
I said Bob? What did I say? John? Bob Larson.
John, is it
Bob Larson. I did it again.
Yes, we're good now. We got it all straightened out now. Reese, thank you very much. Have a great night. If you're heading into Hartford, South London, the wind's a little slow. Right lane at 32.
You called John Bob before, and then you called Bob John.
Slows approaching the
It's figures. I do it all the time.
Eastbound 84 losing a little
Anyway,
speed, 46
I will
up to
see you
48 Capitol Avenue.
All right. See you. I already chopped all that shit up, and so we good for Sunday.
There you go.
Thank you, boss. Toward middle.
Yes, sir.
All right. 9 in the air, go to Bridge 84 westbound. A little slow as you move from.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Lori. And thank you, Michael A. I appreciate you. And it looks like we got some more details coming up on that situation. I'll be looking into that, and we'll have details about it tomorrow. Sorry, it's the end of the show. I love you guys. Be good to each other. Stay well.